What if one of the most powerful regions in America was once a vast frontier that seemed almost impossible to control? How did Texas transform from a remote frontier into one of the world's most economically important regions? The story begins thousands of years before Texas had that name, when indigenous peoples already lived across this enormous land. Archaeological evidence shows that humans occupied the region for thousands of years, adapting to forests, plains, deserts, and coastal environments. Texas was never home to one single indigenous society. Numerous peoples developed distinct languages, traditions, and ways of life.
In eastern Texas, Caddo communities developed settled societies supported by agriculture, trade, and complex cultural traditions.
Along the Gulf Coast, peoples such as the Karankawa adapted their lives to an environment shaped by water, wildlife, and seasonal change. Across the plains, indigenous communities developed highly adaptable ways of living across some of North America's largest open landscapes. This is one of the most important facts in Texas history. The land was not empty when Europeans arrived. European exploration began during the Great Age of maritime expansion, bringing Spanish expeditions into contact with the Gulf Coast. In 1519, Alonso Álvarez de Pineda's expedition explored and mapped much of the Gulf Coast. Early maps helped European powers understand the coastline, although the interior remained largely unknown to them. Spain gradually incorporated Texas into the northern frontier of New Spain, but controlling such a vast region proved extremely difficult. The enormous distances, limited population, and powerful indigenous societies made Spanish control over Texas uncertain for generations. Spain responded by establishing missions and settlements designed to expand its influence and create permanent communities. San Antonio gradually became one of the most important settlements on the Spanish frontier. Mission communities became places where indigenous and Spanish cultures interacted, sometimes cooperating and sometimes experiencing deep conflict. For generations, Spanish Texas remained a distant frontier rather than a densely settled colony.
Today, archaeology provides physical evidence that complements written records and reveals how people actually lived on the frontier.
The new Mexican government inherited an enormous northern frontier that was difficult to populate and defend.
In 1821, Mexico won independence from Spain, and Texas became part of the new Mexican nation.
Mexico encouraged immigration to strengthen the northern frontier and invited settlers to establish agricultural communities. Stephen F. Austin became one of the most influential impresarios, helping organize a major American settlement in Texas. Texas became a meeting place of Mexican, indigenous, Anglo-American, and other cultural traditions. New settlers established farms, towns, and businesses, rapidly changing the population and economy of Texas. Many American settlers also brought slavery into Texas, creating a major political and moral conflict with Mexican policies. Disputes over political authority, immigration, slavery, taxation, and local government steadily increased tensions. In 1835, political tensions finally turned into open rebellion against Mexican authority in Texas. The confrontation at Gonzales became an early symbol of the Texas Revolution. The Alamo became one of the most famous locations in Texas history. Texian forces moved toward San Antonio, where a much larger confrontation would soon become famous. On March 6, 1836, the defenders were defeated, and the event became a powerful symbol in the Texas independence story. The defenders were surrounded by Mexican forces during a siege that lasted nearly 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Texas leaders declared independence from Mexico on March 2, 1836. Texas now faced the enormous challenge of building an independent republic in a vast and contested frontier. As Mexican forces advanced, many Texian families fled eastward in what became known as the Runaway Scrape. Sam Houston emerged as the commander of the Texian army and understood the importance of choosing the right moment to confront the Mexican forces. Near San Jacinto, Houston's army finally found an opportunity to confront Santa Anna's forces. On April 21, 1836, the Texian army defeated the Mexican forces at San Jacinto.
Ordnance. The events at San Jacinto became a decisive turning point. Mexico could no longer effectively restore its previous authority over
Texas emerged as an independent republic, but independence brought problems as enormous as the territory itself. The new republic struggled with limited finances, frontier conflicts, political divisions, and uncertain international recognition. The Republic of Texas claimed an enormous area, including territory whose boundaries were disputed by Mexico and other authorities. Sam Houston became the first president of the Republic, facing the difficult task of governing a fragile new nation. Texas claimed the Rio Grande as its southern boundary, but Mexico rejected that claim. From the beginning, many Texans and American politicians debated whether Texas should eventually join the United States. Annexation was controversial because it risked war with Mexico and intensified the political crisis over slavery. For nearly a decade, Texas existed as an independent republic between Mexico and the United States. Eventually, political circumstances changed, and the United States moved toward annexing Texas. On December 29, 1845, Texas officially became part of the United States. Texas statehood helped intensify tensions between the United States and Mexico, contributing to the Mexican-American War. The war ended with major territorial changes, and Texas's southern boundary was ultimately established along the Rio Grande. Texas was now firmly part of the United States, but its greatest economic transformation had not yet begun. Texas soon became famous for cattle, helped by enormous grasslands and growing demand for beef. After the Civil War, enormous cattle drives moved herds north toward railroads and major markets. The cowboy became one of the most recognizable symbols of Texas, although the cattle industry depended on many other workers and institutions. Railroads transformed Texas by connecting isolated communities with national markets. Communities expanded around railroad stations, while agriculture and cattle could reach distant markets more efficiently. Texas was increasingly shaped by migration, and people from many backgrounds contributed to its economic and cultural development.
African Americans played an important role in building Texas communities, agriculture, businesses, and institutions after emancipation.
Mexican-American communities also remain deeply connected to the land, culture, and economy of Texas. Oil had already been discovered in Texas before the famous Spindletop boom, but the industry remained relatively small.
Then, on January 10, 1901, drilling at Spindletop near Beaumont struck an enormous petroleum reservoir.
By the late 19th century, Texas was becoming increasingly connected, populated, and commercially integrated. Beaumont changed almost overnight as investors, workers, entrepreneurs, and oil companies rushed toward the new petroleum frontier. Refineries and transportation networks expanded as Texas oil began moving into national and international markets. Spindletop helped launch the modern Texas petroleum industry and changed the state's economic future. Companies such as the Texas Company grew rapidly during the new petroleum era and eventually became major names in the global energy industry. Corsicana became one of the early Texas oil centers, demonstrating that petroleum could become a lasting industry. Oil discoveries soon spread beyond Spindletop, creating new boomtowns and reshaping communities across the state.
Burkburnett also experienced a rapid petroleum boom, attracting investment and workers from across the country.
The Ranger oil boom later created another dramatic transformation in North Texas. In 1930, the discovery of the enormous East Texas oil field created one of the greatest petroleum booms in American history. Even during the Great Depression, oil remained a crucial part of Texas's economy and provided opportunities unavailable in many other regions.
Revenue from natural resources helped strengthen public institutions, including higher education.
Automobiles and highways gradually replaced many older transportation patterns and connected Texas communities more closely.
Houston expanded rapidly as a center for shipping, energy, industry, and international commerce. The Houston Ship Channel strengthened the city's connection to global trade and helped establish Houston as a major industrial port.
Dallas developed into a major commercial and financial center, increasingly independent of the traditional cattle economy.
Fort Worth remained deeply connected to cattle and livestock, while developing into an important transportation and commercial center.
Austin remained the political heart of Texas and gradually became an important center for education and research. Texas also carried the painful legacy of segregation and racial discrimination that shaped everyday life for generations. San Antonio preserved its Spanish and Mexican heritage while becoming one of Texas's largest modern cities.
Under Jim Crow, African Americans faced barriers in education, voting, employment, housing, and public life.
Yet Black Texans built schools, businesses, churches, and organizations that strengthened their communities and challenged discrimination.
During the Civil Rights era, activists across Texas challenged discriminatory laws and demanded equal rights. Court decisions, federal legislation, and local activism gradually weakened the legal structure of segregation.
After World War II, Texas entered a period of rapid population growth, industrialization, and urban expansion.
Texas increasingly diversified beyond agriculture and oil, developing manufacturing, transportation, medicine, and other industries. From Houston, engineers and flight controllers helped guide some of America's most historic human space missions.
Houston became one of the most important centers of the American space program.
Texas became permanently connected to humanity's journey beyond Earth.
Houston's energy industry grew into a global network, connecting Texas with markets around the world.
Global energy crises demonstrated just how important Texas petroleum had become to the American and world economies.
Texas gradually expanded into electronics, computing, and advanced technology.
Companies based in Texas helped make the state an important center of the American electronics and semiconductor industries.
Austin increasingly attracted technology companies, entrepreneurs, researchers, and creative industries. The Dallas-Fort Worth region developed into one of the largest business and transportation centers in the United States.
Immigration continued to reshape Texas, bringing new languages, cultures, businesses, and connections to the global economy.
Texas ports became major gateways connecting American industries with international markets.
Despite its industrial growth, agriculture and ranching remained important parts of the Texas economy.
Texas's extraordinary geography gave it access to farmland, energy resources, ports, transportation corridors.
A vast highway network helped connect Texas cities, industries, farms, and international trade routes.
Population growth became one of the most important forces behind Texas's modern economic expansion.
Houston became a global center for energy, medicine, aerospace, shipping, and international commerce.
Dallas developed into a major center for business, finance, technology, transportation, and corporate headquarters.
Austin became internationally recognized for education, technology, entrepreneurship, and innovation.
San Antonio combines Indigenous, Spanish, Mexican, and American history with tourism, military institutions, and a growing economy.
Petroleum remains important to Texas, even as the state continues to diversify its energy economy.
Texas has also become a major center of wind power, demonstrating how its energy economy continues to evolve.
Look at the data on Sector 3. The reaction rate is significantly higher than the control.
I noticed that. The blue samples correlate perfectly.
Solar energy has expanded as Texas uses its enormous land area and abundant sunlight to diversify electricity generation.
Texas universities have become important centers of research, engineering, medicine, and innovation.
The voltage regulator wire seems exposed right at this joint.
Yes, the shielding looks compromised. We need to document this immediately.
This facility represents the future of manufacturing, combining precision robotics with a highly skilled, diverse Texas workforce.
Texas today is connected to global supply chains that stretch across North America and around the world.
Rapid growth has also created challenges involving water, transportation, housing, infrastructure, and environmental pressure.
Water management remains especially important because much of Texas experiences periodic drought and intense population growth. The state's energy future may depend on balancing its historic petroleum industry with rapidly expanding renewable and technological systems.
Modern Texas is not one story, but many historical layers built upon one another across centuries. The deepest layer is indigenous, created thousands of years before European governments claimed the region. The Republic of Texas lasted less than a decade, but its political legacy remains central to the state's identity.
Oil transformed Texas more dramatically than almost any previous industry, turning natural resources into enormous economic power.
But Texas did not remain an oil economy. It built a diversified system spanning agriculture, manufacturing,
So, what did we learn? Texas was never simply an empty frontier that suddenly became rich.
Instant shakes. Its transformation came through centuries of migration, conflict, adaptation, natural resources.
From ancient indigenous landscapes to Spanish missions, from the Alamo to the railroads, Texas has been shaped.
From cattle trails to the great oil discoveries, and from growing cities to spacecraft and advanced technology. The remarkable story is not simply how Texas became wealthy. It is how an enormous frontier became a global.
If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share it with others.